teachers are extremely committed in Singapore. The teachers I speak with really want the best for their kids. There's a deep sense of pride, there's a deep sense of commitment, and so education seen as a means to build a nation. I would think that we take education very seriously because we are really a very small country. Very small country with no natural resources. Therefore, education to us, since independence, has always been a means by which we could forge a national identity, have Singaporeans come together as one. It was also a means by which we could ensure that in terms of our own economy, that we could make some headway and that economy could do well.
As the Ministry and the government more broadly have emphasised Singapore as a global city and have emphasised that its future lies in staying and developing as a global city, the role of teaching and education more broadly continues to get re-emphasised by the government. So over the last 12 or 13 years, there have been a series of policy announcements by the government that have really emphasised the critical role that education plays in nation building.
We deeply believe that the teacher is the key in bringing about changes. You can have all kinds of reforms. At the end of the day, it's the teacher that has to deliver that in the classroom. And that will make a real difference to the learning of the pupils that they are in touch with every day.
So in the very early years of our independence, the country was very poor, but yet we had to quickly educate a very large number of young people. So what we did was to have a very centralized, efficient system to build up the education system very quickly. So schools were built in cookie cutter style, teachers were recruited in huge numbers all at one go. And after we've solved that problem, the next stage was to raise educational attainments.
That was a very important phase in our development because it really focused on the craft of teaching and learning.
Okay, so same thing, we will have 2 students to every terminal. If you have any issues with the terminals, raise your hand and I'll come to you. Okay? Let's go.
I think our basic belief is that no education system can be better than the quality of its educators. And so we place great emphasis on recruiting the right teachers. We start with a fairly high academic standards that our teachers are recruited from the top 1/3 of every cohort of students. And from that top 1/3, they go through a series of tests and interviews to ensure that we recruit teachers who are passionate about teaching and who cares about students. Then they go through rigorous training at the National Institute of Education.
Let me describe the philosophy behind our curriculum. First of all, we prepare a teacher to be first a teacher of the learner, number 1, and number 2, to be a good teacher of the subject. So the essential foundation is that a good teacher must first of all be very passionate and clear about how to help people learn and how people learn best.
Okay, the challenge for the next, say 10 minutes is this. If you had to do a made in Singapore movie about an inspirational Singapore teacher movie set in a, say, neighborhood school, what would this teacher look like and how would you film it? Okay, I've got markers here.
We have key roles to fulfill in this whole education system. I think first we prepare all the new teachers that the education system needs annually. And on an annual basis, we graduate some 2,000 new teachers for the school system. And secondly, we have 31,000 teachers in the education system. And our policymakers rightly identify that the professional development of the 31,000 teachers in the school is as equally important as that of preparing new teachers.
What are the key factors in this task? I think if you ask a question like this, we are only asking the students to just plonk the answers on the paper. So how can we put this question into a Socratic questioning, and which type of Socratic questioning would we use?
I think we're a deep believer of lifelong learning. At the pre-service level, we cannot teach our beginning teachers everything, what it means to be a good teacher. And we have to encourage our beginning teachers to come by and be involved with continual learning and in-service courses. And there's plenty of professional development opportunities for them. And I think that access, and the support is, I think, an envy of many countries.
There is quite a systematic approach towards developing teachers who are already in the schools. In fact, the ministry supports this professional development of teachers and recognizes its importance by allowing every teacher to have an entitlement of 100 hours of professional development time to help her or him to become a better teacher.
Today, we are looking at how we can actually scaffold student learning through the use of Socratic questions, and we are going to look at picture discussion. Okay, maybe before we even look at the questions, what do you think are some of the concerns, or what are the outcomes that you want to see in your students? What are the problems you face?
We believe very strongly that we must have a professional learning community. That's PLC, and right in the middle of this three-letter word L, learning. So teachers must learn, and I think with the kind of knowledge economy that has emerged, you have new knowledge created every day, and I think the teachers must keep up with the content and also development in new pedagogy. So if the teacher do not keep on learning, they will find that it is going to be very difficult to engage the kids of today who are exposed to a lot of information via the internet and social media. The day they stop learning is the day where they will not be able to engage the kids effectively.
I think it would be best to ask questions to allow them to probe deeper into the picture.
So you're suggesting that we're looking at observation,
interpretation,
okay.
inferences. Yeah.
To do that, really we get teachers to work together, to collaborate, and to look at each other's practice in the classroom. I think that is essential and really very critical, because the good teaching practices should not reside within the four walls and be kept to one teacher, and I think there is a lot of sharing that we can have in this school.
What you want to do right now is, think of the Socratic questions, what do I want to use to further define, clarify. Now, I will go on the internet, I will find any sort of evidence that will help support this statement or refute this.
Professional learning community in schools was started basically to ensure that teachers had a platform to develop their teaching practices. Our main focus actually is to make sure that students learn best. And in order to do that, we have to collaborate. We exchange ideas, we try out, we test, and eventually we check for results. And the intention really is to share ideas to make it better for the students.
Follow that URL, it will lead you to a Google form. Using that Google form, I I want you to key down some of the things that will help you.
We are in the process of watching a model lesson that's being run by my colleague here, and the whole process of us watching the lesson is to gain some kind of points from her lesson and also to provide our feedback. We discuss it to come up with a better lesson, because definitely learning grows with sharing and communication, and there's definitely scope for improvement for any lesson.
What do you understand national service to be? When you think about it, what comes to mind?
My dad once told me that many boys, before they went in army, they are like still kids, and even though they are 17, 18, but they still behave like kids. But after going into army and get training and get pumped, after that they get more mature and
There's always something new to learn. You're never at a standstill. You're always moving ahead, pushing boundaries, trying to discover new things, new ways of teaching. So it's exciting because you don't get caught in a rut. Even if the pedagogy is sound, there's always a technology that's always challenging us, and we always have to find new ways to connect with the kids and to challenge them.
This is the question there. Velocity is defined as the rate of change of distance with time. Is it true or false? So I want you to tweet me your answer. So this is how you tweet. This is the format that you need to tweet. So you put in @ vote by tweet 1.
In the early 1990s, the teachers really are the monopoly of knowledge, and they are the one that comes to the class to deliver that knowledge so that the students can acquire them. But today, knowledge is no more a monopoly among the teachers, because students can get knowledge from a myriad of sources. And hence, the role of the teacher today, yes, there is still a component of knowledge imparting, but there is also a very large component of facilitation. That means facilitate students where they could get the right knowledge, how they could synthesize them, how they could discern the information that they get.
Energy cannot be created or destroyed. Okay, what principle is this? Principle of conservation of energy. Okay, good.
So we look at technology very meaningfully, and we see how can we leverage this technology to make a very significant impact in the classroom instruction. I'll give you an example. In a classroom of 40, it is really impossible to get 40 students to ask 40 questions at one go. When we use the instant messaging tool, we open 40 windows to 40 kids. They could ask 40 questions at the same time, and the teacher could see their thinking on the technology tool that they use. And kids get more excited because they are using the tools that they are very, very good in using, not just the pen and the pencil.
Right, everything consolidated on one PowerPoint slide. Use the main thing as a skeleton, then you add on to the different parts. Okay?
A lot of our younger teachers are coming in. They're a lot more savvy in the use of information, communication, technology tools. And I see them teaching the more senior teachers how to use those tools effectively.
I think this is what you want to encourage. In a class, you want to encourage the student to think for themselves. Okay. Yeah, correct. If you do not know the answer, it's okay. Yeah,
I'll
but
just be honest that we are here to learn together.
Correct. So I really think that this research that you have done really prepare yourself better in the classroom. Yeah. And then that
within a department, we also assign mentors to teachers. So new teachers come in, they are not left alone. They will be mentored by very experienced teachers who have taught for more than at least 5 years. It's sort of like an apprentice kind of relationship where a more senior teacher guide a young teacher in the profession.
You give them the different categories to work on, be it the number of petals, be it the type of roots. If you guide them with categories, they are able to differentiate into the two different groups, which is monocotyledon and dicotyledon.
I think there are many benefits of the mentoring program. Firstly, is the relationship that I have built with my mentor. In terms of teaching pedagogies, what I used to do would be I just teach. I just go through the content and just make sure, chuck it down to students, and make sure this is the content, you receive it. But after different sessions with my mentor, Madam Mashikin, I actually learned that it is important to question, and not just question, you have to give wait time for answering.
Yeah, so I think this is really well done. Yeah. Perhaps I just wanted to suggest to you, I believe that her learning, my learning, begin with questioning each other's approaches. Why do we do this and that? And I think from there, if we are earnest enough to listen to give time to one another, that is where we both benefit. I truly feel that way.
Can you hear us clearly?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear us all right?
Yes, it's
Okay.
better now. All right, first of all, I understand that the purpose of this Skype session, we want to confirm the suitability of the pretest. Is this the common agenda that we have?
Yes, the common agenda. Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I would say that the teachers in this school, myself included, we scan the globe for best practices.
Another thing maybe we can think about is if we give it to the children as is, some of them might actually come up with the idea of the steepness of the slope, the steepness of the bath. They might actually be able to start accessing the understanding of different gradients and rates of change.
In fact, I would say that the teachers here are very curious, and they are always on the lookout for what is the best way to deliver that content to the students.
Teaching is not a job. You are here for a calling. And because it is a calling, it can only be fulfilled if you have a passion for it.
If you look at the status rankings of teachers in Singapore, they are accorded enormous social status by the community at large. So they're right up there with doctors, lawyers, judges. There's a sense that teaching is a really important professional role that they play in the community.
We meet with schools and teachers very often. Every director here, in fact, would visit school at least 12 times a year. And so I went to a school just yesterday. And you actually hear the teachers. Right? You hear the teachers and you know really that, what are some of the issues on the ground, what are some of the ground concerns, what do we need to do to support them better. Teachers are your most precious resource. And so I think developing teachers is one of the things that we pay a great deal of attention to. And that's what I look forward to.